Hello, hello, intoxicated community. Here's to a lovely cup of tea. So today I wanted to have a chat to you about Friday nights. And Friday nights for me, for most of my life, had meant, at the very least, even in times when I didn't drink, a huge amount. For example, after I'd had kids, in the early stages, it was probably one of the hardest habits to break, was the Friday night drinks. And it took me, I would say, probably 6 to 12 months, really, probably more like closer to 12 months to not feel those intense cravings on a Friday. And I think that's because A, I've been doing it for so long. B, it's kind of a social norm, isn't it, that everyone goes and gets hammered on a Friday night. There's a reward component, so it's, and a celebratory component. Yay, we got through the week, come on. And there's that whole thing of like drawing a line under the working week and transitioning into the weekend. So I felt I deserved it. I felt like, what the hell is the point in grafting all week if I can't get hammered on a Friday night? And so it took quite a long time to shift. So I wanted to share with you a number of things that I used, and hopefully one or two of these will be helpful for you. So one of the things that I used, number one, was acceptance. And that was, yep, this is going to be difficult, and I'm going to have cravings, and that's just part of the process, and feelings are going to come up, and some of those feelings are going to be pretty uncomfortable, but in the scheme of wanting to stay sober and the benefits that I get from that, then that's what I need to do. So I suppose it's a bit like going to the gym. You know that there's going to be, if you want to get a six-pack, or you want to lean up, or you want to tone up, or you want to, see some transformation in your body, there's going to be an element of discomfort. So there was acceptance around that. The other thing, as a part of that, I suppose, the feelings that come up, was anger. So the second thing was that I let myself be angry, and I think there's a process when you do give up drinking that it's a bit like grief. It's the 5 stages of grief where you have to go through these various phases where you're burring up against it, before you come to acceptance. You're in denial, you're angry about it, you don't want to accept, until finally you get to the stage where you're like, okay, this is it. And for me, I was pissed off that I couldn't drink on a Friday. That doesn't mean that I didn't want to be sober. I did, but I was angry that I couldn't be like everybody else who was out, who I pictured was out having a great time on a Friday night. And so I let myself be angry. I think that's part of the process. I let myself be angry about it. And then that comes to an end eventually, where you're like, because I'd talk to myself and I'd be like, well, I can go and have a drink if I want one, but then what? So that brings me to the next point, which is playing it forward. This is a technique which, is well used in giving up alcohol or cutting back or whatever it is. I knew what the outcome was going to be. It wasn't like I hadn't tried to not do this, or I hadn't tried to moderate, or I hadn't tried to, have a better relationship with alcohol for a long time. So the play it forward technique, which is, okay, I could go and, oh, you can see I've got fake tan on my hands. Okay, I could go and go out tonight with people, and what's going to be based on the history of the last 30 years, what's the outcome going to be of that? Well, the outcome of that is going to be, I'm not going to remember getting home. I'm going to wake up tomorrow feeling not only physically very awful, but mentally awful and ashamed. I'm not going to know what I said. I'm not going to know what I did. I'm going to have spent too much money, and on it goes. Yeah, you can choose that. Absolutely you can. So I'd play it forward. That was a really, really useful technique for me, because every time that I wanted to go back to, if I'd be like, this isn't fair, I'd play it forward and go, haven't we been down this path enough yet, Faye? Come on, we have. And you know what's going to happen. And you know that that's not what you want. So this is what you're choosing. So there was that one. That was a massive thing. Distraction was another one that I used. So with distraction, it was just trying to do things that took my mind off the fact that it was Friday night and I wasn't drinking. So I would do things that I wouldn't usually do, which would be like going out for a walk around the river for an hour, just to get me out the house. And then by the time I got up to the unit, and by the time I got home, it was enough of a circuit breaker that the cravings had diminished. I'd also do things like I'd put my pajamas on and get into bed and watch something on TV, because even though I was like, this is boring, it still meant I wasn't drinking. So Friday nights were a real difficult one for me initially. So anything that kept me sober on a Friday. Initially in early sobriety, I was also attending a particular recovery group, and I would sometimes tap into those meetings as well to be able to offload my feelings about things. I also said no to invitations. So not all the time, depends what it was. But if it was something like going to the movies and someone was drinking, because obviously you can get alcohol at the movies and things like that, then I would probably say yes. But if it was a boozy dinner, or it was someone's birthday or something similar to that, I would say no. Just because I knew it would not be enjoyable for me to be sitting there and feeling deprived on a Friday night. Why make it harder for yourself? If you're on a diet, you don't go and sit in a cake shop. So, for the most part, I didn't want to drink, and I was able to focus on the positives and what I was gaining, not on what I was losing. But Friday nights were hard, and you need all the tools that you can get. So distracting yourself, getting out of the house, changing up your routine, saying no to invitations. Do not put yourself in boozy environments. Don't go and do things at pubs and stuff like that. Come to an intoxicated event if there's something on a Friday or Saturday night that helps you, still have a social aspect, but not in a boozy environment. Anyway, I hope that has been helpful to you, and the cravings do go eventually. Over time, you will find that it does diminish, and as you rewire those neural pathways and you get new habits, it will change. One last final tip that I almost forgot was treat yourself. Treat yourself. So get yourself a nice drink. If you're into alcohol-free things, alcohol-free replacements, do that. I'm not big on them personally. For me personally, but I know they work for a lot of people. But get yourself a nice kombucha, or go and get yourself some ice cream, or whatever it is. Replace the alcoholic reward and treat with something else, so that you at least feel like you're getting a little bit of love at the end of the week. You got through, you did it. Yep. And now I'm going to have this gigantic ice cream sundae or whatever it is. But yeah, treat yourself so you don't feel like you're missing out as much. That's another thing. All right, well, I hope those have helped. And yeah, you can do it. If I can do it after 30 years of caning it on a Friday, then you can too. All right, much love.